What's up, YouTube? Christo here, and I've got my first re-installment of my vinyl collection. I'm gonna go through these alphabetically, at least alphabetically in a sense that, I understand how it is. And I'm gonna go through and just talk about the records a bit, maybe go into a little bit more depth about some rare albums or some significant albums, some favorite albums for me. I kind of, well, not kind of, I did basically lose control of my old vinyl channel, and despite lots of discussion with people in, I don't know, the technical or the service side of YouTube, I was never able to actually get back into my channel. And I figured, since my collection has changed significantly since my last videos, that I would just kind of start from scratch and start with a new channel completely. So I'm gonna go through alphabetically. Half of my record collection is still in Ontario. I've actually moved twice since my my last videos. If you're familiar with my old vinyl channel, I'm gonna keep those up, but I'm not able to respond. I'm not able to upload or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. But pretty much everything that was on there will be moved over to this channel. But it was pretty much just vinyl collection, some hauls and stuff like that. Anyways, let's get into it. This is probably gonna be a 15 plus minute video. Silver Mount Zion, a Silver Mount Zion, which is why it's the first. He has left us alone, but shafts of light sometimes grace the corner of our rooms. This was my introduction to Silver Mount Zion, much later than the initial album was released, because this was their first album. And I love it. I still to this day love it. It's probably my favorite that I can just put on and listen to start to finish without being bored or without wanting to skip through it. Not that other albums of theirs are boring or, I feel I have to skip through them, but there's ones that don't intrigue me or keep me as interested. This is probably my second favorite, and I believe the second release by them. This is our punk rock, The Rusted Satellites, Gather and Sing. I think the A side of this, or the first half of this, is just phenomenal. The kind of chanting that opens at the start, I find just very eerily beautiful, haunting, chilling. The B side, the second half is very good, but yeah, I think the A side really shines on this album. And it's cool that Constellation pretty much keep their entire catalog in circulation. They're constantly repressing and reissuing things, which I really like. Helps keep costs down for, great records for true fans and collectors. Another Silver Mount Zion. I think this was their last, or at least when I bought it, it was their last. There's some foul language in the title here. Fuck off, get free, we pour light on everything. I wasn't a big fan of this. I think, like a lot of people who were introduced to Silver Mount Zion in their earlier years, there weren't big fans of this. This is definitely a more like rock driven album, whereas these ones I showed before are much more ambient post rock. But a friend of mine, this is, I think he said one of, or his favorite Silver Mount Zion records, and he recommended I give it a try. So I picked it up. I haven't really listened to it much, and I've had it for a while now. Just not really been throwing a lot of the rockier end of post rock on my stereo when I have the time. AC/DC, Back in Black. A bit of an oddball in my collection, but I used to love AC/DC back when I was in like primary school. And this is an original Canadian pressing. Not that it's worth a heck of a lot, but it's just kind of cool because a lot of the tracks on here were on those like kind of best of compilation and live cassettes that I had when I was in like grade 5 and grade 6. Almost all of these songs I know, except for maybe a couple here and there, like Shake a Leg. I don't really recognize that track, but almost everything on this I recognize from when I was really young. So got that for a really good price. Allah Laws. Very late to them, but really ended up enjoying them. I don't know why. They were one of those bands, I think, just when they came out and the crowd that were, you know, praising them, I found kind of like posers and posery, and just people that I considered to not have good taste in music. And it turned out I was a bit wrong. Most of them are posers, but they were right on this one. Very good. Again, very nostalgic. It's a contemporary album. I don't know, when's this from? 2000. I don't know, it's 2010 or after. I'd say between 2010 and 2014 or 15, but very nostalgic, kind of like surf rock, vintage sound. Really good album. Not really familiar with their albums after that, but this one was a must for me. Some G.G. Allin, Freaks, Faggots, Drunks, and Junkies. This is, I admit, this is a hard album to listen to. I like some G.G. Allin stuff, but I could probably make, you know, like an hour-long compilation of the tracks that I enjoy listening to by him. Not my favorite. This one definitely I enjoy a lot more. Hated in the Nation. Kind of like a mishmash compilation of some live stuff and some studio tracks. But yeah, this one's definitely probably the most accessible album of his that I enjoy. Parts of it, some of it, most of it, whatever the stretch is. But I think he really did do some good music. But yeah, he definitely does have kind of a, you know, that cult following where people who love G.G. Allin will just listen to anything of his. Or people that pretend to like G.G. Allin will just listen to anything of his. Angels of Light. This is a Jira, however you pronounce his last name. I've heard it pronounced about 10 different ways, but Mr. Swans, let's say, his acoustic solo project after, not all of it's acoustic, keep in mind, but a lot of it is. After Swans disbanded, and this is a little bit more rockin' than the 2 or 3 other albums that he did with Angels of Light. Probably my second favorite. What is it? I can't remember it. The song with New York Girls, the album with New York Girls, I really enjoy. New York Girls is just such an incredibly, like, dark, gothy song. I love it, but it's pretty rockin' as well. Angry Samoans, Inside My Brain, Drastic Plastic Pressing. I'm not going to get it out because it's in, like, kind of a... Oh, is it? I thought it was in a sealed bag, because a lot of the Drastic Plastics do come in the sealed bags, but this is an opaque red pressing. It's only like, I don't know, 10 minutes long, not even, maybe like 7 minutes long. And it's okay. I think it's an early EP of theirs. I do have another Angry Samoans record, but it is in storage still. Amon Tobin, super modified. I picked this up. This is an original Canadian pressing, which is really cool. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was very, very much into the electronic scene, as it was called back then. I think it's been renamed a couple times since. But yeah, this is good. I don't remember a lot of the tracks off of this from my Napster days. But yeah, I do remember Rhino Jockey, Saboteur, and what else was it? Golfer versus Boxer. I don't know if I ever downloaded that song, but I remember seeing it and being quite interested by the title. AC Picnic of Love. This is a Record Store Day release a couple years ago. I think you can still get this for like $20. It's kind of like a joke novelty album by a joke, well, what kind of started off as a joke novelty band. I'm a huge AC fan, but this album, I admit I bought it because I have no other like AC EPs or full-length LPs, whatever, on 12-inch vinyl. I've got a few 7 inches. I passed getting Everyone Should Be Killed a couple years ago on vinyl for a good price, and I really regret it now because it's impossible to find for under like $150 now. Anti-Anxiety reissue, Soul Possession. This is a reissue from Deus Records, which is one of my favorite record labels recently. Just the stuff they're putting out is so incredible, like these old rare reissues, and they're signing some of the best electronic artists in the world today, in my opinion. Electronic, synth pop, Drab Majesty's on them, which is, kind of what got me into Deus in general. Choir Boy, which you'll see probably in my next video. Huge fan of them. I don't know this album very well. This is an early 80s kind of like dub, no wave, electronic. It's a very eclectic album. I've listened to the digital copy a few times, but I haven't actually put the vinyl on my turntable. Doldrums, Ariel Pink, I believe his first major release. I'm sure he did stuff before this, but this was like the first real full album that he did. Very lo-fi. I like it. It's very somber, quite dark, as you would expect by an album called The Doldrums. This is a, 2010-ish, maybe a little after that, reissue. Very good album. I haven't listened to this as much since I've discovered his newer stuff, like Mature Themes. And I do know my Ariel Pinks are out of order chronologically, but anyway. I mentioned this in my first video, my haul kind of like welcome back video, and I kind of slept on this one. I didn't even realize that it was really out, even though it came out really soon after Before Today, which is my absolute favorite Ariel Pink record. Trash and Burn, I don't know this one as well. I'm gonna say, just trying to remember. Yeah, okay, so I think this is probably one of my lesser favorites of Mr. Pink's catalog, at least the ones that I'm familiar with. He's released 20 plus records, and I'm familiar with maybe half of them, and I own maybe a quarter of them. But yeah, this one, not great. It's an unclear vinyl. I'm not gonna dig it out. Album's not really worth it. This is a good one though, House Arrest. I do like House Arrest. Got some really good tracks on here. Getting High in the Morning, I remember liking that track a lot. I haven't listened to this in a while. I used to have the digital version on my phone, then I kind of wiped it when I sold it and forgot to transfer over my stuff, unfortunately. Dedicated to Bobby Jameson. I was really late to the game on this one. This one came out since I moved back to Canada, so I think it's like 2016, 17 maybe. Although the track, Another Weekend, shows up quite a lot in my YouTube suggestions, so I did finally listen to it, watch it, and it is a really good track. So definitely need to get a little more familiarized with this. This is kind of a cheapy impulse buy, the Atlas Moth. They're kind of like a doom stoner band. I don't know much about them. Okay, I will say I did know the name because they were on a 7-inch, I think it was, with Ken Mode, who are a Canadian noise metal band. It's on, I don't know, semi-translucent, kind of olive green vinyl. Just a little cheapy. They're okay, not my favorite doom or stoner band, but they're all right. Autechre, Amber. I picked this up, 4 or 5 years ago. It was really cheap. They were dumping a bunch of copies on Amazon for like 12 Canadian dollars or whatever, so I had to grab it. I remember Autechre from when I was really into electronic in the late 90s, but I didn't really know Autechre. I was a little more continental European electronic, although there's some great, British electronic artists, but yeah. And this one as well, as I've read since I picked it up, it's one of their more approachable albums. It's got a lot more percussion. It's a little more upbeat than a lot of their stuff that they're, a little more hardcore fans are into. It's good. I don't love it. I wouldn't really rank it in my favorite electronic albums. In fact, very far from. Battles, Mirrored, an old roommate of mine when I lived in Indonesia introduced me to this. He was really into kind of like post-rock, math rock and stuff like that. And he introduced me to actually a couple bands that, I'm still into this day. And yeah, I remember he told me about them, and I remember listening to, what is it? Is it Atlas? Yeah, I remember listening to Atlas. And, I saw the music video, and I was just like, really blown away by both the track and the music video. And it was cool because John Stainer from Helmet was, or maybe even still is, in the band. The band have changed a lot. They put out a lot of albums, and I have to say I'm not really big on most of them. But yeah, really dig Mirrored. The first album that I ever bought myself, and I mean, like, not just stealing it from my dad's record collection or whatever. This is Beastie Boys' License to Ill. This is a first Canadian pressing, and I bought this in probably about 1995, 96, when CDs were at just, the absolute height of their popularity. And the CD store that I used to go to, they had just like a display shelf with a few records on it, and it was kind of indie underground, so it was more alternative and stuff like that. And I saw this, and it was like $7 or $6 or something, in pretty good shape, so I grabbed it. And yeah, I loved it. I had it on CD as well, but that's a really important record for me. That as well, it was like the first kind of like non-pop music that I listened to. Like, I was into like Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer and New Kids on the Block, and then I listened to this. My cousin let me borrow his cassette, and it just kind of changed music forever. I copied it, and I played it over and over and over for like 2 years, to the point that I still know the album by heart, 30 plus years after the fact. Check Your Head, Beastie Boys. A lot of people would cite this as their favorite Beastie Boys. I think it's kind of like a fan favorite. I like it a lot, but it came out kind of when I was not as interested in the Beastie Boys. This, for me and a lot of people my age, was the, kind of quintessential Beastie Boys album, Ill Communication. This came out when I was, I think, in grade 9. And I listened to this like, 2-3 times a week for a couple years. Like, probably again to the point where I can recite this still. I probably have to listen to the record and, kind of, recite the lyrics, but, it's still, I've listened to that hundreds of times. This is something I didn't even know existed until a couple years ago. Love American Style, Beastie Boys. It's obviously from the License to Ill era, because the A-side has Shake Your Rump and Hey Ladies, but the B-side has 33% God and Diss Yourself in 89, which I had never even heard those tracks before. They're okay. I picked this up as kind of like an add-on from someone on Discogs for like little or no extra shipping. And one more album to round it off, about the 20-minute mark here. Beck, One Foot in the Grave. I do have several other Beck records, but they're not with me at the moment. Huge Beck fan. Mellow Gold came out when I was in grade 7, and I bought it really soon, like after its release, and I just loved it. I loved Loser. I loved the music video. Unfortunately, it was just so popular, overplayed, ubiquitous, that I can't really listen to Loser anymore, even though the fact that it is a really good track. But I kind of went from there. I went, you know, before and after, and, you know, like looking at his albums after. I didn't really like Odelay. I do actually have that on vinyl. It's nostalgic, but kind of after I was getting more and more indie and underground, kind of lost a bit of effect with me. And the funny thing is, I remember borrowing this CD off my friend and just hating it. Like, I think I gave it back to him. I deemed it unlistenable. I think just because it was like folk rock, and it's not even that lo-fi compared to his early stuff. But this came out about the same time as Mellow Gold, kind of cashing in on it. Same thing with Stereopathetic Soul Manure. And I revisited it like maybe a year or two later and actually ended up completely falling in love with it. And I remember spending about a month playing Earthbound on SNES, listening to One Foot in the Grave, to the point that every time I see or hear or think of Earthbound or One Foot in the Grave, they remind me of each other. So that's kind of a funny 90s nostalgic connection for me. So anyways, that's my first vinyl re-installment collection video. Gonna go through what I have A to Z, and then hopefully soon when I get the rest of my collection, I'll start back, do an A to Z, and they'll kind of mesh together and give you an idea of my entire record collection. So anyways, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I will see you again soon.